Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lynett and it's a tourism channel where I talk about tourism, travel, all those amazing things. So if it's your first time on my channel, check out some of my content where I've traveled around different parts of the country. I usually interview very many people about what they think about the tourism industry. Yeah, and feel free to subscribe over there if you like this content and would like more of such. So in our midst we have this amazing gentleman. Let me give him a chance to introduce himself before we go any further.
Thank you so much, Lynett. Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
I go by names Timothy Chinto. Actually, most people prefer to call me Trekking Timmy.
Trekking Timmy.
Yeah, so Trekking Timmy is my brand, and that's how I do my travels.
Wow, Trekking Timmy. So, Mr. Timothy Chinto, or the founder of Trekking Timmy,
yes,
has a lot of exciting stuff he was telling me, and I was like, why don't you just come to my channel? Why don't we talk about it here? So just give us a background on why you use the name Trekking Timmy. When someone thinks about trekking, they think about long journeys, long distances.
Very true.
And how do you incorporate this trekking with tourism? Tell us about that.
What's been happening is that most people have been, they look at tourism as only tourists going to the tourist sites. So I found it very better to give it some other kind of flame or beauty and excite more travelers into kind of trekking. So the trekking can also be done within the city, or you can also do it on any various hills around where we can get themes and move around without just not necessarily going to the national parks or things of that kind. So actually that's so exciting is you can trek within the city, and I do a lot of Kampala treks.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
tell us some of the treks that you do.
Well, they're all themed treks.
Okay.
Themed in such a way that we have a story that we want to portray and tell people about. But not only that are we doing that, we also encourage more travelers to come and start walking, especially the age group that is going between 25 and onwards to 50s and 60s. It's good exercise. We might do short treks that could be about 10 or 5 kilometers, 12, upon the theme of the day we have.
Okay.
We talk about non-communicable diseases, and these are really hitting this world so much. So I, as Trekking Timmy, I would love so much to always excite travelers by taking them around and also do the treks. So as far as Kampala is concerned, your question...
Yes, tell us about those. You said you have theme treks.
Yeah.
Which is one of your best theme treks?
Well, I've done a couple of treks.
Yes.
I would excite you with a very good one, which I call the Uganda Colonial Loop trek.
The Uganda Colonial Loop trek.
Yes.
How long is this trek?
It's 12 kilometers.
12 kilometers. Would you like to share with our viewers like a run through of this trek? Like, how is it? Can you give us a feel of it and the background of it?
The Uganda Colonial Loop trek is all about...
Sorry.
It talks about... It talks about the British who one time colonized us here in Uganda.
Yes.
And how they lived. And to some writers around the world, or even here in Uganda, I've started terming them in different ways. Some of them come up with topics where they talk about, say, racism. Others want to know about probably where would people be, what do Ugandans feel, and things of that kind. So what happened when the British came here, at first they settled in Old Kampala.
Yes.
Then they later on shifted to the new Kampala, and they took over 2 hills. That was Colonial and Nakasero.
Okay.
So,
the present day Colonial and Nakasero.
And the present day Colonial and Nakasero. So we call it the British colony because they came and settled there, and what would happen is, if you look around, say, if you went around the world, like in Paris, in New York, a few of these countries also have what they call British colonies. So basically what would happen, the British, they would come and settle in an area, and they create kind of a boundary around them.
Wow.
So exciting. Why I call it the colony is because it's kind of a circle. If you look at if you have it on the map and see it, if you know where Kia Road Police Station is.
Kia Road
Police Station.
Yes.
You know where Kia Road Police Station is. So when you see Kia Road Police Station, it has that road that goes through. It's a double-lane road, and it's called the Kia Road.
Yes.
Then it connects you all the way to Wandegea.
Yes.
Then you turn off with Bombo Road, and you'll see there's a police station there as well called Wandegea Police Station.
Yes.
So we drive through that one, we get to Bombo Road, then eventually we're on Kampala Road. We slope down to Ginger Road, where we again find another police station called the Ginger Police Station.
Yeah, the one down here.
Yes. Then eventually we get back to the Lugogo bypass, or we call it's called the Rotary Avenue right now. Then eventually it takes us back to Kira Road.
Police station.
Police station. Now, what would happen with the British first and foremost is, with them they love to settle inside, and then on the outskirts they would leave the Asians to live there. So the Asians were pretty kind of close to the black or to the indigenous Ugandans who lived in this area. So when I take it for this trek, it's such an exciting trek because there are so many ways in which I can tell you about it. First of all is the localities in which these people used to live are kind of slums. Then the dumping areas where the Asians dumped their stuff, where the British dumped their stuff, and things like that all around. If I would say, I could walk you through this trek.
Yes, please do.
I could walk you through this trek.
Yes.
We've done this trek,
and as you walk me through, please highlight the pointers which people maybe previously, as they were using these roads, or as we're using these roads. Because now that you have given me that whole boundary situation, I thought it was just good construction. That's how things were.
No. It's exciting what you're talking about. Actually, before I can take you through that, the British designed this colonial trek in such a way that it had double lanes. So what would happen, for you to get to the British, you had to first cross that colonial trek. I'm talking about the road. Then you would find the Asian community living. Then they would have created another street and another street. So they had kind of three boundaries before you could get to the white man.
Wow. In Uganda.
So this was here in Colonial. So oftentimes our treks start from Lugogo at the Homa Showgrounds, because that's where we get some good space for parking with friends, and we start the trek.
Yes.
I often have these treks either doing them on Saturdays or Sundays, either early month or late month, upon request and upon excited people who love to come and trek with us. So we start off by, of course, exciting people about the manufacturers in Uganda and how they have an association and the grounds that they have, and which we thank them for because they help us so much with parking our vehicles there. Then we set off on our trek, walking along Ginger Road. As we get to the corner, you can see the Oval Stadium over the side. So we are using the Lugogo bypass.
Yes.
So we turn off onto the right and start our walk.
Okay. Which are some of the significant things you're going to see along this walk?
You know the game?
Yes.
And you know Forest Mall?
Yes.
Okay, now those have just come in so recently, but before all those were plains and they were green. So nothing much was happening over there back in the day. Today, thanks to development, that we're seeing some of that. But of course, you know, also in Uganda we play a lot of rugby.
Yes.
So you've had the Chadondo Rugby Club, and
yes.
It's just opposite. So we excite people by telling them of some of the sports that we do, somewhere where they can go and do their shopping. And then as we set off, I've also explained to you the Lugogo Oval, which today we're calling the MTN Arena. So it's exciting because as I was telling you about the British colony, as the topic is and the trek is, it's a theme trek. This is not a game that we are excited to do, we as blacks.
Yes.
This is a game that they did for themselves. Cricket isn't really a Ugandan game. It's because we had the British and the Asians. Who plays cricket in this world?
Asians, mainly. Indians.
So now that's how I start the story. That's how I start the story, by telling you about the Oval. Then as we walk, of course, we start seeing schools like Colonial Secondary School. I again share with you, okay, it's just that today we have gotten construction happening so much now on the right-hand side of the road as we're walking on the Lugogo bypass. Yeah. But before, it was only the slum, the go down Naguru slum, where the blacks used to live. So for them to access this other side, it means that they had to cross the road and either go around or...
Oh my God, and yes. What you're saying is so true, because there's a particular point I stood usually around the Lugogo bypass.
Yes.
Actually, the UTB offices. When you're there, you look the other side and it's a slum. And you look this other side and it's green and it's luxury and it's beautiful.
Very true.
Wow.
To excite you more about what you're just saying is, if you're a traveler coming in from Europe, and you're coming into Uganda, and you're taken to this spot, you will look at Kololo or Nakaseri. Actually, you look at Kololo at that point, and you'll see a Victorian kind of architect, and then an Asian architect. And when you now look at this new Naguru, where people say putting up construction, now construction is all jumbled up and stuff like that. It's not really giving you that authentic thing.
Yeah.
You feel that traveler is like, can we get accommodation this other side, not this side? So that shows you as much how much the British had colonized us and how much they had also done a protectorate for themselves to be within there and not to be so much disturbed by the black person or people who were living at that time.
Yeah. You when you're doing this trek, you told me about the names of the roads, how the roads on the colony up to today have British names, and yet down they have the Kafumbe Mukasawa, Uganda names.
Oh, yes,
all local names.
Very true. As we go along, I'll be sharing with you because some of these streets have like Prince Charles Drive. You've heard of that? Bucksville Avenue. We have the Tannan Avenue. We have the Princess Avenue, Elizabeth Avenue. There are quite a number of streets that they created along the way. But let's continue walking and I'll tell you more about this. Okay. Now, as I told you earlier on, now the British at that time used to dump their waste somewhere just ahead before the slum. As you continue walking, I'll be showing you where they used to dump their things. So what would happen? The poor person or the citizen of Uganda sometimes had to go there and handpick and get some few things that they probably could use or could still be reused. So I would say that Naguru to the British was more of a dumping area.
Wow.
Exciting to note is also, I should also be telling you how they also came up with this. It's exciting that there's a German architect who during the World War between the Second World War between the Germans and the British, this guy, I don't know for what reason how he managed to get into the British, but he's the one who designed all these colonies or the British protectorates around these countries that they went to. And the evident one is this one that we're working on right now. And this guy was called Ernest May. Born in 1934 and died in 1954. Quite a young man, but he had this very brilliant idea that he saw to the British. They took it on and brought it here. That's how they managed to have themselves in the middle, and then the Asians on the side, then the blacks in the various corners.
Far away.
Far away, yes. So what they would also do is they also created schools which had the British or the white people studying, children, and then they also had what they had for the Asians. So as we go along, I'll be showing you Colonial Secondary School, and interestingly, the school was on the opposite side, and then they also had sports on the other side. Back in the day, just after the dumping area was this very good sports arena that they had designed. There was basketball, you could play football, you could play volleyball. Over time, some of the things have gone away and construction has gone on. Today we are seeing, actually where you see Kensington housing, it was more of a dumping area. Yeah, then as you go ahead, you'll see there's now a new Chinese building that has come up over there. Yes, Shanghai or something like that. So that's just the new construction that has gone on right now. But back in the day, all that was just a plain either dumping area and then the sports area that had also been left. So also the blacks could come and play from there. Otherwise, not interfere with crossing the road to meet the Asians. That's why you see as we walk along, you will see that there's a lot of Asian architects showing you some of what happened at that time. Actually interesting to notice that also today there's still some Asians living there who came back, but yeah, that's how it is. I'll continue telling you because it's quite an exciting, I don't know, you need the whole day to enjoy this trek. As we go along, of course I told you about Prince Charles Drive, which you'll see over there. Then we shall continue walking a little bit up, meeting the road that takes us to, what's the name of that road? I think that's Baskerville Avenue. It takes you up. And then you see the street that's crossing off is called Bukoto Street, and then you also have Kanjuta Street. Now, this practically gives you the streets that I was telling you about. So as we continue on Kia Road, we meet Kia Road Police Station.
Yes.
Then we're going to turn left and continue. As you can see, that the road is a double lane. After Kia Road Police Station, before back in the day, actually until recently, that was a single lane road. Actually, it was a dual road, but I mean, it had no what do you call
Demarcation.
it? Demarcations in the middle. Neither did it have even walking lanes. Actually, you should be able to thank who was the director? KCC was just retired. The lady Jennifer Musisi. If you remember, she did some good, very beautiful design, and they managed to make it a double lane. So those are some of the things that are happening today, and the new developments that are happening. You've seen the brown flats over there. I happen to have grown in those ones. So the story I'm telling you, I tell it to you with passion because I also lived
there
and witnessed some of these things.
Oh
yes.
Wow. So right now we are around
Kira Road Police Station, and we continue now. We are getting off Lugogo bypass, and we're going to now join Kira Road. That road takes us all the way to Kamocha. Then we shall continue. It will be a little bit flat as we continue all the way to the Uganda Museum.
Yes.
Now, as I told you earlier on, as we are on Kira Road, just behind those buildings that you're seeing with Asian architect, where the Asians used to live, is the Koto Street, then the Kanjucha Street, then the Tanan and whatever avenues were above. So what they did also to convince this black man, who at that time, the black man in that area in Kira Road, lived in what we call Kamocha. Kamocha, I don't know if it still stands to be the largest slum as far as Kampala is concerned, but it was one that had quite a very big population as well, also back in the day. They also constructed for us a football pitch. If you see Kira Police Station, there's a football pitch over there.
Yes.
So there was no way in which you're going to come and say you want to play football or associate yourself with the Asians or the white people at that time.
You have your place.
You have your place. Yeah, you're better off there. So now the Asians, also exciting to note, they also had where they used to dump their things. Yes.
Wow.
I don't know if you've heard of Kasasiro Stage.
Yes.
So Kasasiro Stage is where the Asians also used to dump their things. So people were living in the slums in Kamocha.
Would come and
also pick some few things from there and things like that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So as we go ahead, as I was showing you all
but
this.
you know that has not really changed because even now we go to get things in second hand from UK. What? We're still doing that.
We're still doing that, yeah. It's exciting. Of course, having handed over to us the governance and getting our independence in 1962, the elite, the politicians, the then people that time, the military like today, the generals, the justice judges and stuff like that, are the ones who are living in what we call that elite or Cololos and the Nakaseros. Otherwise, other people have moved in and gone to other places. I know today we are getting new places we call Kolo, like the Muyengas, the Chanjas that are coming up. But then there are these.
I'm saying Chanja because you live there.
I know, because I don't know. It's becoming the new Kampala, the new money, the new Kampala. Yes,
let's not
on the streets.
Yeah.
But well, as we continue working, you see more of this Asian architect. Like I was telling you. So, as they handed over power to us, something happened about that time.
Okay, tell us.
Power was handed over to the government of Uganda, and we had our president who was
Obote. No, Mutesa the second. Sorry, Mutesa the second.
Yeah, Mutesa was given
the
then
Kawaka
of Uganda at that time. Then later on, there was a coup.
Yes.
And then Obote took over. He was his prime minister at that time. Then later on also, Obote was ousted out of office by
Idi Amin Dada.
Now when Idi Amin Dada took over, through his innocence and through his consultations, he found out that these Asians who had been invited to Africa by the British left them behind. With them, they went back.
Like he left the people here.
To him, it seemed like, but because remember that the Asians came in, first of all, because the British felt that they knew better how to work on the railway. And remember, that's how they entered into this part of Africa. Before, the communities that were coming in, they were basically for trade and they would go back. By this time, they came and settled. And when they settled, the British also found it very wise that white people will be more protected if they are
have a
protected, and then the Asians are left in. Now, remember, I've told you that they've handed over power, they've handed over some of these buildings to us, and this political elite and the military, the judges have gone above. Remember, they've taken over the white man's buildings. And then there are the Africans or the blacks who are still living, the poor black who are living in the slums. The Asians are left in between and they are squeezed. So they also had their challenges. I won't talk much, I will elaborate more of what happened in the 70s, but we all know that one of the presidents of Uganda gave them 90 days to leave the country, and that did not sound so good to so many people's ears. Neither did the writers even make it any simpler. Oh well, there's a story about that. Interesting to note as we continue.
Now we are around. We're around the museum.
We are just leaving Kasasiro. Before there used to be a petrol station in the corner there. Then, where today you see the city oil, that used to be a green garden. It's beautiful. And they would continue, and although you would see the museum, you would see Kitente Primary School, and you would also be able to see the golf course. Now, what's happening at that particular point, as I told you, there's a Acacia Road crossing through. Then Mawanda Road, remember, is behind that site. Of course, that was just to excite us that some streets also named again after our names, but in actual sense, all the English names were inside the other side. Also, Acacia Avenue, despite the fact it was there, we were not allowed to access it. So that will just go around again. That was what happened inside there was none of our affairs. Today, there's this hype among so many teens about blankets and wine. Blankets and wine has been in Uganda for a very, very long time. When the British were still here, they also did their blankets and wine over there. The young couples and whoever got married sometimes started from there. They would work there. At that time with them, they used to work with baskets and blankets.
Picnics and everything.
A proper picnic, yes. It's so interesting that we black people also copied some of these stands. When they handed over power to us and they handed over to the schools, like Kitente Primary School, remember, which at first it had a lot of the affluent taking their kids to those schools. So even amongst their peers, they would feel a little bit more bossy because they felt that they were studying in white man's school. Remember, back in Colonial, there was another school called City Primary. It was practically left for the Asians, which today we are calling the Area Primary School. Yes.
Oh, there's also Lohana.
Now Lohana, all those are very new schools. All that areas I was telling you, back in the day was still just vacant and green and bushy. Then today, so many things have evolved over time.
Wow.
Yeah. So as I was telling you, I'll tell you about the Victorian kind of architect, the Asian architect, and what's happening. Now we reach at that point where Acacia Avenue is going off to do what you call John Babiha Avenue. It's so interesting. I would not like to talk about racism, but well, it so happens that it comes into play that we were so much marginalized that even until today, a few people are not yet appreciating to use the local names. Acacia Avenue has long time been changed names to John Babiha, but today it doesn't sound cool, so we prefer to call it Acacia Avenue. But it's called John Babiha.
John Babiha.
Yes.
I think even the fact that they built a mall there called Acacia Mall, it's just
so it should be John Babiha Mall. I mean, if at all we were to go by using local names, but because we still have that white man
superiority complex thing.
Yes, inside us, so it's still affecting us in one way or another. As I was saying, if you look also further onto the right, you'll see that there are a lot of those Asian architects also on this other side. You know where NBS office TV is. We continue down to the museum. That's where most of the picnics used to happen. Then Kitente Primary School. Earlier on, I spoke to you about the basket.
Yes.
When they handed it over to us, I don't know if you are able to see that. So many school-going kids started carrying baskets to school because of what they used to see the white man come out with when they're doing their picnics. Back in the day, some of us went to Kitente Primary School. Yeah, it's a basket. The way they used to design it, and we put in our books, and then we'd also put in our packed lunch, packed break, and then walk to school. It looked kind of cool, but we never knew that this, because we saw these guys go with them to do their picnics, we also thought that it was good to take to school. But anyway, back in the day, mostly 70s, 80s, and a little bit of 90s, Most of the school-going kids at that time carried baskets to school.
Wow. In affluent Kampala.
In the
Because for us downtown, we weren't carrying those things.
Oh yes, yes. So well, we continue walking like that after passing the museum. Now it's interesting. Today we talk about the museum, Uganda Museum, and of course it has history, architecture, the archaeology of Uganda and everything. This was practically put around by a white man. This is an amusement center. It was an amusement center for the white people. After the picnic, if you are bored, you could walk in and see what Uganda has to offer you. And then, if you've been to Uganda Museum, there's that first room you pass. It used to be a cinema. If you actually even walk there up to now, you will see that it's kind of built in the form of cinema. In the times when I was growing up, I managed to see the Cowboys and Red Indians being played there. So every time on Fridays after school, because school used to end at lunchtime, we would rush and also go and watch. So the museum was practically built as an amusement center for the white people who were living in that area. Now what was happening, the kids would go to school, sometimes the parents would hang out there or be in the amusement park. That was all going all the way to what we call in the golf course today. There was only one hotel, which was Fairway Hotel. So they were able to see what was happening all around that area because there was no black person allowed to be in that area. Remember, from now, when you look from Acacia Avenue, as we continue walking to the Ghana Museum, you'll see that on both sides are Asian buildings. So it means that our affairs in between there were all closed off until we get to Mulago Hill, where they built some few houses for their staff and then the Mulago Hospital. But this was also to cater for communities. The people living in Kamocha, Naguru were able to access Mulago over there. Then we come to another slum, Katanga in Wandege. You can see how proximate it is to Mulago Hospital.
Yeah, Katanga. Is that where we have Chisenyi?
No, Katanga is in Wandege.
Yes. Where there is a present day Kamwesi.
Today you're seeing a lot of hostels mushrooming up in that area. But before that was all slum. Actually, for the kids who used to go to Makerere University, they used to have very good local gin taken from there. It's really good gin. Uganda Waraji. That time we used to take it as very raw form called kasese. So the kids in Makerere University, if you spoke to kids who went there probably in 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, actually even almost to early 2000s, they will tell you so many stories about Katanga because they really explored that area.
Okay.
Yeah. So we continue with Kira Road all the way. Yeah. Now the hospital, leaving it, and then getting to the corner. As we turn off left again, you're seeing that we're all turning left because we are going to move in a circle until we shall get back to Lugogo.
Wow.
If you remember the road very well, it's also a double lane. So it means you couldn't cross one road to another road, then to the buildings, the streets, and then cross over to them.
They would be saying, you go
what are you doing there? Because you had no business there unless when you are a porter working in one of their homes over there. It's so interesting to notice about the Victorian architects that today we copy a lot of things from the white people, but they really don't necessarily help us. Back in the day, the white people used to call their servants houseboy or boy. It stuck with some of us and most of our parents, but we don't need to blame them. They also did not know what is going on at that time, but that was a model that had been brought up by a foreign person. That we started constructing houses and also started building boys' quarters. The boys' quarters were left for the boys to go and live in there so that they would not mix with the white person. Today, everyone constructs a house and puts a boys' quarter, but in actual sense, do we really need it?
No.
We don't need it. But what we need today is a guest house. But everyone goes into building a boys' quarter. So we didn't know probably what the purpose was. We copied.
True.
Yeah.
And that goes with many things that we do up to now.
Oh, yes.
Very many things.
So many things we are copying that we should not really be the case. Well, we proceed. As I told you, the Katanga slum is over there. You've seen the Kamocha slum that is also being managed by Kira Police Station. Now, the people in this area are managed by
Wandege Police Station.
There is no way in which they can cross over to come
Wow. Why were there police stations in all these points, like at the border point?
They put the police stations wherever there was a bigger influx of people, so that in case of any
raid,
anything,
any riot, the police handles them.
It handles them very well.
Wow, it all makes sense. These things I thought they were obvious.
Yeah. As I told you before, it was a German architect who came up with all these designs and put them up. Yes. So we continue. We of course now hit into Bombo Road. We continue walking. We have Buganda Road that was up there. Remember, it was. I think even up to now, it still has its Asian name, Norman Godino. I think you've seen those Asian words even written up there. There's a public library over there. Then before it was YMCA, the Young Christian Men Association that was there. Then the Scouts, Baden-Powell House. Then the rest was a plain of football pitches for Buganda Road, which over time we've seen some construction going on over there. But also when you look onto the right, what today we call Bat Valley, there used to be lots of trees with lots of bats, and that's where they derived the name Bat Valley. Yeah. Then there's a school called Bat Valley just right down the corner. Now again, if you look at that side, there are streets of getting off Bombo, like William Street going down that side. You can see it also has Asian architect because they also lived in that area. Now this shows you that at that point we had not much authority on the city. Remember that now when you're entering into Bombo Road, going into the city, we are now entering into the real city. So we continue walking like that. I've told you about Bat Valley, then the hospital, the Asian hospital that is somewhere there, then their temple. Then we get to the cinema today that was bought off by Watoto. That was the cinema back in the day for the Asians. You can see that all that whole street has Asian architecture, even the shops.
Yes, even that building itself, that church is Asian.
Yes, some of those buildings, of course, have stories. Some of them even have the years in which they were constructed and things like that. Actually, if you walk on, if I was to tell you the history of those buildings, it's so interesting because some of those buildings have so much a story. Where back in the day, we used to have what they call hire purchase. So you'd walk into these buildings, and if you are doing yourself a good job, you are able to go and pick something, and they would take it off your salary. Some systems have gone away, but people back in the day enjoyed some of these services, and these are streets that had those kind of things.
You get a TV, you get what, then you pay in installments.
You pay in installments. Yeah, most of these buildings and shops were owned by the Asians. But remember, as I told you, in the 70s, when they were told to go back home, most of these were given to the locals, who at that time did not know how to do business, but they had to learn the hard way. Today, we can truly tell the world that amongst, I think we have the highest privately entrepreneurs in the whole world.
Really? Uganda?
Oh, yes, Uganda.
Wow, that is good.
It's also interesting to know that because of so many people trying to go into private practice and do their own work, it also got out of intermarriages. It also gives Uganda another accolade that you are likely, for every 3 people you're going to meet in Kampala, may be speaking a different dialect.
True.
Which is usually you may not find in any other world. And these are some of the things that came about because of what happened at that time.
Okay. So we're on Kampala Road now?
We're moving on Kampala Road, I'm showing about these buildings and how they're coming up, and then let's continue sloping down. We need to walk and probably start pointing at buildings, and I'll tell you one by one how it's happening at that time. Of course, you see the Bank of Uganda. Those are some of the buildings that have come up. You've seen the Centenary Bank.
Yes, Mapera
House. Then we have Equity Bank that also put up a very big building there. We have Crane Bank that also put up a very big building there. Higher up we have the
City Square.
The main court, City Square. But is it still called City Square? I think it's called the Constitutional Square right now. So we continue going down like that, and then we meet in Taba Road.
Yes, true.
Of course, now it means actually at Watoto, Bombo Road stops, and when you start Kampala Road.
Yes.
Walk with Kampala Road, which ends at the railway station. Remember, we have the railway station and the station house over there?
Yes.
And then it changes from Kampala Road to
Ginger Road.
Now, because if you look at all those buildings all the way, okay, down where we see the T junction again, used to be called the Yard. There used to be a very big roundabout where you also see Centenary Park. That used to be a green all the way because it was actually part of the golf course.
Hey, wow, the golf course was so big.
Yes, it was stopping now at the main road. And the white people really colonized us that they took over most of the prime land. I don't know if I should tell you this right now, but well, when you look after Airtel, there's a cemetery.
Yes.
Yeah, so
didn't they move it?
It's still there.
Okay.
So you can see that they had put everything inside their own colony, in their own boundary that couldn't be taken off.
Right now where
So
the present
that
day speak
cemetery-
apartments.
Yes, they're
Close
within
to-
there, a bit above there, yeah. So you can see the cemetery
yes,
over there. It was also a burial ground for the white people who probably passed on and couldn't be taken back home. Remember, for the Asians, if we go back on Google bypass, you've also seen they have their cemetery and they also have where they do their cremation from.
Yes,
on
yes,
Google
yes.
bypass. So you can see that everything of theirs was kind of put
Within.
inside there. Yes. As we're walking through the streets of Kampala, I mean the main street, you will see that on both sides they had their buildings, either white people or Asian, all the way down to the Yard. As we continue walking up the Yard, we get another police station, Ginger Police Station.
Right.
Remember now that all areas on the right is the industrial park.
Yes.
So it means that all people who are either in Bugolobi, I'm forgetting the name of that town behind the industrial area. What's that town called? There's also slum over there. They're also being managed
Mbuya?
by not Mbuya. I remember the name, I'll tell you. But what's happening at that time is that the Ginger Police Station was also to manage.
Kibuli?
Also, the Kibulis are all that side there. Ginger Police Station was to manage any locals who wanted to access this side or wanted to have any disobedience. They've been managed from there. So we continue walking down. I told you about the oval and the activities that were happening there. Cricket, which was really not much fun for blacks. But of course, over time, we have learned some of these games. We have learned rugby and stuff like that. So when we get down again to the junction that takes us back to Google bypass, that whole thing, if you ever look at it on a map, it's a circle.
Wow.
So probably if we get some time, probably tomorrow or so, we could take a walk and check it out. Then I could also carry you a map and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I've also written some blogs about the same. If you could check out on Trekking Timmy, how well do you know Kampala? It's one of the blogs that I think we have written, and it was talking about that trek. We have also done one. What is it called? How was your Easter weekend or something like that? But it was just talking about that same
Wow.
trek.
So we're going to put all these links in the description box of all the blogs that Trekking Timmy has done, describing how well do you know about Kampala. And I think we're going to get some maps and videos and everything, and we shall share them in this video as it runs.
Very true. And I think I should excite you because if you could get the old history with the versus the new history, it makes it very fun and exciting to do.
Wow.
Yes. So we should be able to do this, and I will share with you. Let's take a walk tomorrow and see how it goes.
Okay. Thank you very much. And it's yours truly, Mr. Trekking Timmy, Mr. Chintu.
Yes.
Timothy. He's a safari guide. Tell us more about what you do. You're a safari guide, you have a tour company.
Well, Timothy Chintu is my name.
Yes.
My nickname, which most people call me Trekking Timmy today. Trekking Timmy is my brand. You could call it a company, but well, it's more of me showing you beyond what most people do in tourism. I try to excite people about anything, about why some villages have the names they have today, why we can do a trek here, how people here are living. I try to look at plants, I try to look at trees, try to look at for all things, and all this excites me to share with people who come to to this destination called Uganda. So I not only do treks within Kampala or the mountains, but I also go out for cultural tours. I also do wildlife safaris around, and I also freelance with other companies. Actually, right now the big company I'm working for is G Adventures, where I handle the National Geographic travelers. National Geographic Society has two categories of travelers who are either graded in the National Geographic expeditions or National Geographic journeys. So on my side, I handle the National Geographic journeys travelers with G Adventures.
Thank you very much, Trekking Timmy. And I'll be sharing more videos with Trekking Timmy. We're going to look at other treks that he has. This was just for the Colony trek. I hope you have learned something. I hope you've picked something. But till next time, bye.
See you.
Wow, thank you.